Hello viewers, wherever you're watching us from around the world, welcome to your weekly State of Affairs program, your flagship political program here on QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station broadcasting from our studios here on Karaba Avenue, just behind the Coastal Main Building. I am your host, Alu Sise, and here with me is my co-host, Sidi Sise. Sidi, good to have you.
Good to have you too.
Thank you very much.
I hope you have rested enough.
I have rested, yeah. Viewers, we all know on 19th of January 2022, this year, the President-elect Adama Barrow was sworn in at a well-attended event at the country's only independent stadium in Bakau. The President was elected on 4th of December when Gambians went to the polls to elect who is going to steer the affairs of this country for the next 5 years. But as required by law, he must take the prescribed oath of office, secrecy and allegiance, which was administered by the country's Chief Justice, Alhaji Hassan B. Jallow. Well, as you have been following, thousands of Gambians were at the Independence Stadium, including 8 invited heads of state who had traveled to Banjul to join their counterpart, President Adama Barrow, as he took the prescribed oath of office, secrecy and allegiance. And joining us in the studio to discuss this and other issues is Honorable Sidi S.K. Njai. I still call him Honorable because he was a former National Assembly member. I still call him Honorable Sidi Njai, Deputy Spokesperson of the National People's Party. Mr. Njai, good to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you very much. Pleasure being here.
Well, in his inaugural statement at the stadium, shortly after taking the oath, the President, in his inaugural statement, said, and I quote, "Today we can comfortably conclude that my re-election for another 5 years is a vote of confidence in my government, a vote of acknowledgement of my achievements, a vote of endorsement of the path we have undertaken to follow, and a vote of acceptance of the democratic principles and values we stand for. It is also a vote of appreciation of who we are as people and how we have branded ourselves, as well as a vote of willingness of the people to come together and work together to pursue our dreams and aspirations. In short, it is a vote of hope and reassurance, a rejection of division and oppression, a new legitimate mandate for me as President and Head of State of the Republic of the Gambia." A quote from his inaugural statement. Sidi, how important was this event for your party?
Yeah, it was absolutely an important event, not only for our party and allied partner parties and former aspiring candidates who wanted to contest the presidential election, but also to all Gambians and our international allies and partners, because as President Adama Barrow indicated in his statement, it was a democracy at work, where Gambians gathered at the Independence Stadium to witness the swearing-in ceremony of His Excellency the President Adama Barrow, to take the oath of office. And in that, it's a transition from a democratic elected president to another democratic elected person. Of course, it's the same person. But it shows how appreciative and how grateful Gambians are. And it shows that it was a vote of confidence. A huge majority, absolute majority for that matter. It's a vote of reassurance. It's a vote that Gambian appreciated the path in which President Adama Barrow and his government have been taking over the last 5 years. And that they wanted for him to broaden and embolden democracy and respect for fundamental rights and rule of law, against, as he indicated, as opposed to intimidation, violence, and profiling of people. It was a vote of confidence in appreciations of the mammoth infrastructural development President Adama Barrow offered to Gambians over the last 5 years. It's a vote of approval of the governance system and structure. President Adama Barrow over the last 5 years built and strengthened independence of the judiciary, judicial independent. He built independent institutions. He built a credible civil service where every Gambian is proud to work without intimidation, fear, or otherwise. It's a vote that the Gambia has regained her position in the international community, in the nations of democracies. However small the Gambia is, but when President Adama Barrow is being recognized, not only the ECOWAS, but internationally, as claimed to be one of the leading democracies in the world, where people's liberties are respected, politicians and political parties and organizations, irrespective of their views and opinions, has been accorded their full rights as guaranteed under the 1997 Constitution. Of course, it has been there since the Constitution came into force in 1997 at the 16th January. But President Adama Barrow not only assured, but he sustained those things. And the Gambian people on December 4th reaffirmed those commitment that the Gambian has yearned over the last decades under the Constitution. And that as a president, he have been president of all Gambians. And they thought, following an intensive campaign by all of us, various political parties and independent who wanted to serve from 2022 to 2027. But Gambian decided to buy the programs, policies of His Excellency the President. Because as Olof Njai said, this way the Bokutsi. They saw the path we took over the last 5 years. And they saw the policies and programs of other independent. And they decided to choose hope, peace, democracy, honor, dignity, and development, as opposed to bullying, intimidations, insulting people, and violence. I think it was this that Gambians want to see the continuations of that path. President Adama Barrow will continue on ushering development to the Gambian people. As indicated, infrastructure will continue, because there cannot be meaningful and socio-economic development, and even either public, private, in the absence of socio-economic development, in the absence of infrastructural development, is the basis. Because if you don't have roads, good roads infrastructure, good energy infrastructure to be able to provide water, electricity, and technology to the people, there cannot be meaningful socio-economic development, and you can't improve either private or public the life and livelihood of Gambians. Once they have water, they have roads, they have electricity, you give them health infrastructure, education infrastructure, even in Bolibana, then it will be a city-state, because those are the basic that one's need, their inalienable rights. And that as a government, President Adama Barrow will continue to offer those in tandem with sound macroeconomic policies, and of course prudent for that matter. Because all these things are very expensive, are costly. And when you go to rural Gambia today, you see macadamized roads and feeder roads. And all those roads in rural Gambia, apart from the grant in URR, they are GLF, Gambia Local Fund, financed 100% by Gambia government fund, not loan and not grant. It could not have been possible in the absence of prudent and fiscal discipline. In tandem with that, we'll continue infrastructure. And we'll also continue to give Gambians a sound, reliable, and to stand the test of time of respect for rule of law.
Thank you very much.
You know, over the last 5 years, he decided to build the independence of the judiciary, which is key.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that, and you've said it earlier. When President Barrow gave his speech yesterday, at the inaugural speech, he talked about 60% of the GDP, either successful or on track. One would wonder, this is his word.
NDP.
NDP.
National Development
Yes,
Plan.
what did I say?
Yeah, you say GDP.
Oh, no, sorry. NDP. Maybe I'm hungry, I'm still hungry. Yes, NDP, 60% on track or success. But how do we know that? I mean, this is his word to the Gambian people.
Yeah, because
what study has been done to establish that?
You know, there were benchmark, and there were studies was conducted and surveys as to what he needed to be done under the National Development Plan in the area of infrastructure, that is roads. How many kilometers they wanted to construct in the area of education, the whole facilities, you know, transitional justice reforms in the civil service, and as well as the independence, to build independent institutions, you know, when it comes to rights, that is the rights of the media, people's liberties and human rights, all that are there. So now measures have been, for example, in the area of media freedom from 2017 January to 2022 January. We have to look at and do another study where the media personnel and media institutions have been, of course, there have been improvement in terms of their rights and freedom. Are they operating on an environment where they are free and their expressions, you know, we have to look at that. And you and I, all of us here knew there's been gigantic leap in the area of media freedom, people's liberties, where the political opponents and people can express their political opinion without any intimidations, without fear, or whether people have been arrested and incarcerated for political reason because they oppose President Adam Barrow's government without charge and or without following the due process of the law or beyond 72 hours. We have to look at all those things, whether they have been happening over the last 5 years. No. Not a single. So we've looked at the roads infrastructure that he wanted to build over the last 5 years. How much have we gone so far? We've gone more than 60% of the targeted roads as per the National Development Plan. So that's the reason why he said either 60% completed or in progress. Now, he wanted to construct over 1,000 kilometers roads. So we looked at the road from Basse to Koina. You know, the other part, southern part of URL as well up to Pasamas.
That's Lamin Kota Pasamas.
Yeah, I'm still in URL. Okay. Then you come to the completion of Lamin Kota Pasamas Road. You come to the Salums, Nyanija, Nyanis, you know, the Sabastanjals roads, you know, and you come to the Greater Banjul area, you know, the Sukuta, Latikunda Highway. So you'll be able to measure.
For you, you are judging the success of
yes, that's what, yeah, that was
on the infrastructure. But let's look at the poverty, for example. When Adama Barrow came in 2016, 2017, of course, when you looked at the per capita income for people in this country is $1 in terms of the age it was. We've not seen much improvement in that.
You know, it's an understatement to say there is room for complacency, but there have been improvement. You know, when you look at the economic outlook of individuals, whether per capita, their income also, you have to also look at it in tandem with global realities and happening. You know, the pandemic, the coronavirus have affected largely almost every economy in the world and has hit hard, especially on major economies. And remember, most of when you come to the living livelihoods, basic thing that is being controlled by world market prices, because we've not had the industries to produce those things. But what government did over the last 5 years to cushion those things and also to meet the growing surge in high prices and so, was to look at the civil service. And because he anticipated the economic meltdown, not only him, but globally, he decided to increase the income of civil service by 50%. To meet, it's still not enough. That is why government is going to look at the issues of salary holistically, and they are looking at it from now against July.
You think it is not by time now to look at a minimum wage for civil servants?
Of course.
Because grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 cannot get you a bag of rice.
Of course.
So when the president comes with his program to say I'm increasing 50% for civil servants, okay, it's okay for somebody earning 250,000. But the person earning $150, for example, making very little improvement.
Yeah, the person earning $150, and now you earn 100 and now you will earn
it still cannot get them
$225.
But it still cannot get them a bag of rice.
Yeah, but,
so what I'm saying, we need to move forward, whereby we'll come with a law, we'll come with a program whereby we'll abolish this grade one.
No one is earning $150 in government.
No, that's just an example. That's just an example. I'm just saying, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3,
that's why I'm telling you,
which should be eradicated.
Even if you are earning, if you're grade 1, you're earning $1,000 and you added $500, it's not enough, but something significant has been added.
Minimum wage.
Government, President Adam Barrow is committed. He's been talking about it. He's committed to minimum wage. He's committed to increasing the pay scale. That is why everything has been reviewed, and by the grace of the Almighty Allah, inshallah, by July, government has committed to start implementing those things, where almost every public employee will be able to have something satisfactory at the end of the month.
Thank you, Sidi. You've highlighted quite a number of achievements registered under the Barrow administration in his first term. What will you look back as something that you believe he could have achieved but couldn't, and you somehow feel surprised or disappointed that his government couldn't achieve it?
No, I'm not disappointed or surprised, but in his own word, His Excellency the President, he wished he could have done better. He could have done more, but we saw that over his first 2 years, he was being distracted for political reasons. But nonetheless, he was able to boost and got us where we are today. But even without that distractions, every good leader would wish to do more than whatever you were able to accomplish over the last 5 years. When you tell President Adama Barrow, he will tell you if this is where he would have constructed the entire feeder roads in the country, and he would have given and he would have built flyover roads across the length and breadth of the country. So there's no room for improvement. Nonetheless, I am satisfied. Gambians were satisfied with what we've done over the last 5 years. Of course, it's not enough. But even that's why, when you go to the other developed world, and even here, the millionaires or the billionaires, they would want to continue getting the dollars from poor Sidinjai to add to the billions and millions they have. So as a president, you've been able to move this country from where it was 2017 to where we are today in all spheres, in all areas, whether human development, whether infrastructure, education, health, agriculture, technology, energy sector, for example. You've done well. 27, there was erratic flow of electricity and water. Now, there's a lot of improvement from that to here. But, of course, President Adama Barrow would want it to be where every hamlet, every settlement in this country, he will be able to provide electricity, water, energy, road infrastructure.
You talked about detractors.
Exactly.
So what do you mean by those detractors?
No,
what are those detractors?
Yeah, of course, when he came in, we were at the UDP, people supported.
Why are you saying the UDP were the detractors?
Of course, everybody. It's a common, it's UDP, they were the #1 enemies in,
Sidi, how do you know? And what do you point to?
Ali, you're Gambian. All of us know that when Lawyer
Dabo
and his team were in cabinet, we know they were distracting. There was no meaningful infrastructural development because they knew once those things happen, because the president was committed towards giving Gambian, fulfilling the social contract he had with Gambians. And we all know from the day he sacked them to 2021 December, you've seen unprecedented development beyond the expectations of many Gambians. Of course, that's the hard fact, in all spheres. So, but nonetheless, Gambian appreciated the fact that he was able to accomplish this. They gave him an overwhelming majority, absolute majority, more than 50 plus 1 vote. by giving him.
I think Ali want to come back to that because
exactly, because
I want to go back to the distractors you're talking about. But you know,
what will you point to?
Yeah, what do you point to? One and two. When you talk about distractors of the, for example, the UDP. I mean, Barrow and UDP were more over the same. They all stood behind each other, supporting each other. We had words saying, you know, UDP is my UDP, Barrow is my Barrow, you name it. You know, so actually, I wouldn't consider your statement.
CD, we may not belabor on this, but you and Aliu and those watching really knew it was hard for Gambians when Dabo was more or less and his cronies were in government trying to use tactics and whatever delay tactics to make so Gambians don't have the meaningful development they wanted.
But these were the same people.
Let's move on to next time.
Exactly. These were the same people who were there when the National Development Plan was being developed and other projects moving forward, I mean, you talk about, I mean, the 60% of the NDP is achieved or is in progress. But now we have seen the NDP has expired because it's from 2018 to 2021. The president is talking about coming with a new development model. In the case of you talking about the focusing on green recovery 2023 to 2027. What do you understand by the word green recovery? What does it mean?
Yeah, you know, this is a plan that His Excellency the Governor, His Excellency the President conceived. And as he indicated, he will have the green plan will go in tandem with Agenda 2063, and also it will run from 2022 to 2030. Yeah. 2022 to 2030. This is a holistic approach of all the aspirations of the Gambian people, as envisioned by Gambians under the leadership of President Adama Barrow, to approach in terms of our short-term, medium-term, and long-term development agenda as a country. And these include all spheres, especially in the key social sector. You know, he talks about rice, for example, rice production, food security, cultivation, the food security. We will be focusing more also on food security, where it is the desire of the president before the end of these 5 years, Gambia will be able to produce enough rice for her consumption and possibly for her to export to other countries. We will look at mechanizing the agriculture, putting on industries that will be able to not only the area of rice productions, but also the area of sugarcane production, for example. There are a lot of studies done under his government, particularly in the Central River region, where the country as a government could tap to be able to produce sugarcane and then subsequently produce sugar. He also, you know, he has this plan of almost constructing schools from primary to senior secondary schools, almost every minimum distance of few kilometers at each major villages or town in this country. And also he have the vision of, because health is key to all these things, to revolutionize the health sector. We are not only building infrastructure, but also to get the material that ones need to operate those health infrastructures across the country, so that every health center, major health center you go into, key conditions that people would have referred to the Royal Victoria Teaching Hospital would be available in those areas in terms of machinery and in terms of human resource and in terms of materials, medications. You know there is going to be also one being built in Farato, but also in all these regions. And if you go to SAO now, it's being the vision of the president. I'm so once everything is in place, work will start in earnest with regards to the vision and the plan that will succeed the National Development Plan in tandem to the AU's Agenda 2063 and also his agenda for the next 30 years. Because for him, we must plan, we must look at, because what the president also keeps saying, he said, even if you look at our roads, you want to build, not only to construct roads, but also we have to look at our settlement. Even if you want to build first-class road infrastructure, a lot of money also is going into compensation because we need to also as well plan our settlement. You know, millions, for example, the Battle Harden Highway, government is spending hundreds of millions in compensation. For instance, if it was well planned and then our planners would have had a vision for, okay, let's say in the next 100 years, we want to build 6 or a dual carriage of 6 lane and we want to build this. You know, when you are planning, you factor into that. But according to the president, some of us, we only plan when we are planning, we only see today, not factoring into 100 years to come when our great-grandchildren come in. So we are going to see huge transformation in terms of development.
When you talked about planning, you talk about vision. You were part of a government that has been here for 22 years. Were you not part of those who were planning to avoid these 100 millions, as you said?
No, I was in Parliament. But when bills or motion comes to Parliament, we express our vision and the way we wanted it. So we, you know, a typical example, when they were fencing the airport, I contacted them. I said, are you people not thinking in the next 10 years, not even 20 years? You have to bring down these funds. You cannot just move it, maybe 50 meters from the main road. But, you know, we'll get there. The president has practical intelligence. And he...
I mean, it is often said there can't be any meaningful development in the absence of peace, stability, and security. And this is something that he has highlighted in his statement. He talked about the issue of the security sector reform. What's your impression about the progress registered so far in this?
So far, when you looked at the security, whether the police or the army, one could see that now their line of operations or their way of operation is more or less in tandem with the fundamental laws of this country. Then that shows that behind the scene, a lot of training and a lot of reform has been done. Because even you see the police or the army have now returned to their constitutional mandate of protecting the territorial integrity of the country. We look at the National Intelligence Agency, the NIA, because their primary function is for intelligence gathering, processing, and of course, analysis. They have now returned to their primary mandate of intelligence gathering. They have stopped arresting people, detaining people. That shows reform has been done. And the Gambia Police Force and the NIA and the police, they've never arrested people and held them beyond the 72 hours limit for questioning and or charges and release or before the court of law. So that shows that the security sector reformed, whether you are seeing it or not, but every Gambian is now feeling that the security, they are acting in accordance with law. They are acting in accordance with their mandate as established by law. So therefore, one could see serious security sector reform have taken place over the last few years. Of course, you know, for some, when you say a security sector reformed, we have to look at it from that point of view, where institutions that are created by law tasked with the primary responsibility of protecting life and property, and us as Gambians, as opposed to oppressing us, harassing us, intimidating us, and arresting us, keeping up without charge. So therefore, security sector reform under President Adama Barrow has been a huge success, depending on which angle individual might come. But no Gambian, you may, however you are an anti-Barrow and his government, you will agree that the security has been placed strictly under their mandate. So because, people were, city, if no longer see people, families being kept at the NIA, whether you're a civil servant or a security personnel for weeks and months, and so that's a huge achievement for President Adama Barrow. It's a huge legacy.
Thank you so much, CD Eskenjai. Viewers, you reminded you're still watching State of Affairs here on QTV. I'm your host, Aliu Sise, with my co-host, CD Sise, and our guest this week is CD Eskenjai, Deputy Spokesperson of the National People's Party. We're looking back at the inauguration of President Adama Barrow on Wednesday, 19th January this year. We will go for a short break, and when we return, the discussion continues.
Looking for the fastest and easiest way to receive money transfers from abroad? Well, QMoney and RIA just made it happen. Now you can receive international money transfer from RIA directly into your QMoney account with no additional cost. Once you receive an SMS alert about your transfer, walk into any QMoney agent across the country to receive your payment for free, or use the money immediately to buy credit, QPower, and other QMoney services. It's fast, safe, and convenient. For more info, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sinu Calpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello viewers, welcome back from the short break. You're still watching State of Affairs here on QTV. I am Aliu Sise with my co-host CD Sise, and our guest this week is CD Eskenjai, Deputy Spokesperson of the National People's Party. We're looking back at the inauguration of President Adama Barrow, and in his inaugural statement, CD, he said, and I quote, "Good governance, transitional justice, rights, freedoms, and the rule of law are matters of great importance to us. My government recognizes justice as an essential component of good governance since it fosters participation, transparency, and accountability while preserving the rule of law. As such, the law will continue to guide whatever we do moving forward." He has given this assurance.
Yes, he has given that assurance, and during the campaign, he have indicated to Gambian, and we told them we'll see a continuation and a broadening of doors, because you are only as good, or your country is as good as you respect a rule of law and for justice delivery, because in the absence of justice, in the absence of rule of law, people will not have confidence in the systems. They won't have confidence in the judiciary. If that such happen, they may be reluctant or unwilling to resort to courts. Once there is no judicial independence, and people may, whether politicians or non-politicians, may want to resort to fighting their own cause and rights, taking the law into their own hands. And it may lead into anarchy, chaos, and the end result will be violence. So President Adama Barrow, as a Democrat, he promised himself and Gambians that in 2022 to 2027 will be a time of ensuring that whatever we do as a people and nations and a country, we must be guided by equality before the law, because indicated that we are all Gambian will be equal before the law. We have seen whether the president over the last 5 years, especially over the last 2 years, where Gambian, especially others who have seen and opposing views to government opinion and or behaviors, they resorted to the court. And at times, the court will decide in favor of government, of course, at times against government. And his government will respect and have respecting the decision of the court and implemented as such. So that shows that every Gambian now will have confidence in the judiciary, will have confidence in our law, will have confidence and in the commander-in-chief, who is the custodian and the chief executive of this country. When that happened, it will move this country, you see, not only Gambians will appreciate, but even the international community, our international business partners, and organizations will have confidence in the country, and they'll be able to come and invest. And then they will create job opportunity for the country. Gambia will be employed, and then also, you know, our development will continue. So, therefore, it is in the best interest of all of us, irrespective of our political affiliation and or leanings, that when we choose the path of rule of law, the path of democracy, the path of respecting every law as provided in this country and acting in accordance to that, we are doing ourselves a good. We are doing that for these generations and generations yet unborn. So President Adama Barrow have committed to continue that, where everybody will be equal before the law. Because when that happens, we will be able to not only unite as a country in peace and harmony, but we will be able to also to work in unison and move this country in terms of development from where we are to an economic country where her citizens will be proud of, call home, and everybody will be employed, whether government or private, even citizens also who have and who wish to invest, like Mohamed Jah and co. Every Gambian now, you have no fear of investing in your country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njai. We had the president talked about the economy, and he said, unquote, economic measures created to be able to generate income to fund projects without outside help. We know under the leadership of the Commissioner General of GRA, I will call him Mr. Target.
He is good at actually achieving his target.
Yankuba Dabo, the Commissioner General, has always get the target. So we call him Mr. Target. But again, you think it's not time your government start looking at the productive base of the economy to invest into the productive, because you cannot rely on taxes. You will keep increasing taxes. That small business won't be able to grow. It is time not only to rely, of course, Gambia is a tax-based economy, but to diversify as far as generating income for government is concerned.
That's why in his statement yesterday, first after his swearing in for the second term, he indicated that we're going to explore more on that. He talks about the productive sector of agriculture. You know, he said we're going to invest massively in agriculture, because when the agricultural sector is mechanized and industrialized, we're able to rely on that and not only to tap a lot of resources where, as a country, she will be able to develop her own and the country's own desired aspirations, but also it will be able to minimize the colossal sums of money, billions of dollars, Gambian government will be spending on getting goods and services into this country, especially, for example, rice, sugar, flour. The subsidies only that government made on those things is in millions for Gambians to be able to get it what it is today. So when we invest in agriculture, for example, it's one of the biggest productive sector. And he talks about the youth, because the youth played an important role in his re-elections. So therefore, the only way to get most of those youth, when you talked about employment, people just, what click or take into their mind is that, them school be watcher, no, that every Gambian, the formal and informal sectors, if you have an industry, for example, you have a massive rice production industry in this country, agriculture, sugarcane, for example, you'll have thousands of Gambians who will be employed. And the resources and the money that Gambian will use, government will get from the proceed of the rice that we sell across the country and export, will use those incomes to build roads, build energy infrastructure, to provide electricity, and also it will help us to beat down cost, because we can be able to subsidize more, and we're still not importing, we are not spending as it is now in importation of those and subsidies. Then we'll be able to still have more resources to construct more. You know, he also talks about technology, because whether agriculture, education, or health, or even the media, technology, you need technological infrastructure. Technology have evolved now to be what it was, to even one could say it's also a productive sector. You know, because you have to have state-of-the-art and latest technology that will be able to provide most of the things that you may need. You know, education also is key. You have to build skills. I mean, engineering skills, he talks about that, because that you are sure of having engineers, whether automotive, auto mechanics, or whether you want to build a car, or whether we have to probably build skyrocketing building with engineers from, you know, as architects who would probably not use even bricks or so. But we need those things. When we have education, we have a high-tech institutions where Gambian would learn up to the highest level in terms of engineering, it will also add value to whatever we're doing, and that's a productive.
When we stop to add value, Mr. Njai, I'm very baffled by President Barrow because this is a guy who was a real estate business that deals with land and housing. We have land crisis in this country. We have housing crisis in this country. And I hardly ever heard President Barrow talks about the land crisis. We know we have a symbolic land commission, very dormant, does very little in public. We don't see what they do. And two, I mean, we begin to have Gambians homeless, whether you know it or not. There are Gambians becoming homeless because we don't have social housing. You see a family of 5, 6 live in one room. That is not acceptable. I don't hear President Barrow talks about social housing and the land reform. And this is a guy who has brilliant ideas about the struggle that people have, young families are having in homes. He was managing homes, selling land. Maybe, so I'm completely baffled.
Yeah, maybe because probably it have not come to light. But His Excellency, the President, have great ideas and plans for housing. Particularly, I think he talks about it, some of his statements. I can't remember when. Especially the low-income earners, the civil service. His government is conceiving the idea of housing projects. Better one, because over the last decades, the Gambian housing, of course, they've done well, but he needs a holistic approach and to look at the issues of housing in this country. I can assure you it will form part of the development plan and agenda, because he believes that civil servants, some people will work for 30 to 45 years, and it is, according to the President, it is very disheartening to realize that they will remain or they will continue to be renting to the end of their service in the civil service. That trajectory he wants to change. And he have even visited some countries and tried to get an idea as to how government will get into those things. You know, of course, we know the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation is there, and the Ministry of
for the poor anymore.
Yeah, and the Ministry of Lands also is giving, you know, but government is going to look at that seriously. I can assure you, it's going to feature in that. And of course, the Ministry of Land and Regional Government is mandated. You know, as a president, he has delegated his responsibility to various institutions to look at issues as they come under their charge. And that the Land Commission you talked about, there are a lot of, not only in the Greater Banjul area, the issue of land is becoming a problem, not only in the Greater Banjul area, but even in rural Gambia. So, and government is taking steps. You know, sometimes also the public service, because there is no adequate probably information coming from the public service to the consumers. A lot of effort have been done by the Ministry of Land and Regional Government in resolving, because a lot of crises, there are a lot of crises, but a lot of effort have been done by the government to not only quelling those, but also to resolving those issues. Maybe you are not aware within the combos here in the West Coast region. But as I said, and as President Adama Barrow will keep saying, there's no room for improvement. Over the last 5 years, he's taken stock, and he will continue to take stock of his successes, achievement, weaknesses, and areas that government could have done better, and then we will improve on them. If we feel that the issues of, as you indicated, land has been, of course, is very delicate, the Ministry of Land and Regional Government.
Sidi,
but
yes,
there are laws.
Let me just come in here. I mean, you've served as a National Assembly member for 10 years, if I'm right, and then you were one of those most outspoken MPs back then. You talk about the agriculture sector, very important for this country. From Jawara's time to now, millions of dollars have come into this sector, but this sector still remains as it is. What do you think the Barrow government moving forward in these 5 years should do different to ensure that his aspirations for this sector is achieved?
You see, Aliu, moving forward, for me, when we were there in government, even in parliament, I was one of the most outspoken. But when the issue of agriculture comes before the parliament, I used to ask them, when contribution, you used to be there. I said, all the millions of dollars, but when you go to Jahali Pacha or you go to rural Gambia, you cannot trace a dime. $1 you cannot see.
Once the project phase out, that's it.
Some of the regional agricultural centers, you visit them, it's like ghost town.
Let me finish. For me, I thought we need, maybe others will say revolutionary ideas also, but no. The Ministry of Agriculture is very key. You want to tell me over the last 2 or 3 decades, millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars has been invested in the Ministry of Agriculture. Do we say it was a misplaced priorities or not? They cannot. As we speak today, we cannot produce enough rice for the country and to export. We cannot create industrialized. For me, I think.
Sorry to cut you, but the fact of the matter is, most of the projects, a project meant for the farmers in Dongoroba, in Nyanija, in Chamen, all they do most of it is just organizing workshops in these hotels. Absolutely. For God's sake, these projects are for the farmers.
You go
to the provinces and stop organizing endless 5 days workshop
offices.
I mean,
for example, in in Jara, you see the amount of broken tractors lying around in the fields. And when you find out some of those tractors weren't actually meant for this part of the world. So those who sit in the offices to go and purchase these tractors are doing injustice to the farmers.
Yeah, President Barrow,
that is just one example.
President Barrow President Barrow has been emphasized that we need attitudinal change because we must take ownership of what we have. And if you're entrusted with a position of responsibility, that's trust. You must not breach that trust. If you know you can't serve or you are not serving to the best of your ability and the interest of the nation, you should relinquish. But I think there's no excuse. The Ministry of Agriculture, there's a lot of things that need to be done. Even though over the last few years or so, they've been doing well in terms of providing those mechanized and, implements to farmers. But President Adama Barrow and all of us would want to see a country where agriculture lead in terms of productivity.
I guess you are aware, Mr. Sisto, I guess you are aware, even this last rainy season, the supply of fertilizers that have gone missing in regional stores. Your government is aware of it.
Yeah, you see,
and we heard about this, and nothing follows suit.
No, you see, President Adama Barrow have committed to boosting production.
No, Siri, what I'm saying is, we have
no, let me come.
We had a fertilizer. No, I'm telling you this. We had,
and basically just
let me come.
Summarize your question because we're running out of time.
Yeah, we had a saga of fertilizers in regional stores across the country. In Jara, you got not bagged. They went missing.
Jara.
Hundreds of bags went missing. This is on record. It cannot be denied. The Ministry of Agriculture is aware of it. But what happened?
Yeah, you know, because maybe I don't work,
at
the Minister of Agriculture. Maybe
so
I am not aware. Maybe I'm not au fait with some of those things. But what I know is, as a president, he have subsidized fertilizer and to make sure that it's available in the country for farmers. And he have given strict instructions. So sometime, maybe along the way, people might fail in their responsibility as a result of negligence or deliberately. But we will look at all those things as a government. We'll take a stock of some of the lapses and some of the improvement, of course, and also to continue to improve on those.
I think it's important. Attitudinal change. Stop taking these agriculture projects and all you do is organizing workshops at these hotels. The projects are for the farmers out there in the provinces. Go there and let them benefit from these projects. They're organizing workshop here, 5 days workshop, 10 days workshop, or endless treks.
So
I mean, it doesn't help.
What happened if the fertilizer gone missing?
Exactly. So all these are issues that, I mean, the president has a huge tax and he has confessed yesterday. He knows all what is happening and, you know, these 5 years shouldn't be business as usual. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And in your case, Sidi, I mean, we saw a press release announcing that the president is going to appoint a caretaker cabinet, which will be sworn in on the 27th of this month. I mean, what sort of a cabinet are you looking for in Barrow's government?
Yeah, you know, he himself made it very clear. He wants an all-inclusive cabinet, a cabinet that will be able to heal the nation, and a cabinet that will tap expertise across all sectors of society to be able to move this country. And also, of course, a cabinet where he probably see some more of, you know, membership of the NPP and allied partners, and a cabinet that will be able to understand his ideologies and his intention for this country, and that will be able to continue to move and to push in realizing that a cabinet of people who are loyal to the country, who are loyal to his government, who are loyal to the social contract he had with the Gambian people on 4th December 2021.
Well, it's very important. I just hope he wouldn't just appoint based on rewarding partners, but appoint people who are competent, who will really serve this country. At the end of the day, he is the president, and whatever goes wrong, everybody will point fingers at him. And I think it's very important that, you know, this is really considered. And thank you so much, Sidi SK Jai, Deputy Spokesperson of the National People's Party, for coming on this State of Affairs program. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Well, Sidi?
Thomas, thank you.
Well, we are right, 2 Sidis today, but
he's my small brother.
Thank you. And before, I just want to use this opportunity on behalf of His Excellency the President, Secretary General and Party Leader of the National People's Party, the National Executive members of the National People's Party, and our ally partner executive, and the entire membership and supporters of the NPP. We want to profoundly thank Gambians for massively voting for President Adama Barrow on the December 4th presidential election 2021. And we love all of them, and will continue to deliver the services to the Gambian and as they envision us to do. So on behalf of the President, we love everybody, we want to thank everybody, and we appreciate it. And also all our partners, whether public or private individuals and or institutions who supported us financially and morally.
Thank you so much, Sidi Eskenya. Well, viewers, with that we come to the end of this episode of the State of Affairs program here on QTV. We're broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, just behind QCell Main Building. I was your host, Alusi. Do join us next week. Until then, bye-bye, and thanks for watching.